There is talk about a Republican revolution, and I have so many questions. One, to the people that are willing to have a revolution on behalf of the Republican Party. What are you having a revolution for? What is it that you hope to gain? So you're going to pick up a weapon, you're going to go and fight fellow Americans. For what? To make America a freer country? To give yourself more rights? To protect America for generations to come? What is the point of the revolution? Because as far as I can tell, it's a revolution that you don't want, that somebody else is coaxing you into. People who are representatives. But they're not your representatives. They're the representatives of the corporate powers. The people that are already in control right now. They bought out our representatives. So now, on the Republican side, they don't have anybody opposing them. If the Republicans want something to be passed, it will get passed. So you need to go to a war to ensure that the Republicans can have their way? It's already here. So you're going to go to war to make sure there's more freedom? No, because you're going to war for the corporations who want to take away your freedom, give themselves way more freedom, the ability to do with you whatever they want. I don't have to pay, they wouldn't have to pay you any kind of minimum wage. They wouldn't have to give you any kind of protection. They could send you into a totally unsafe environment, have you die, and not have to pay out anything. Claim that it was your bad. You decided to work there. You were down there in the mine that happened to collapse. You didn't protect yourself. You're dead. Not my problem. That's your problem. So yeah, that's what they want. But why is it that Republicans, the voters, are willing to do it? Again, what do you hope to get out of it? To put someone who's in the power of a king with the power of a dictator? Because this is America and we all like freedoms and we want to have a king that doesn't give us freedoms? What? What is the point? Right. My belief is that you're just following the people that are representing you. People that have already joined a team and are now saying, well, I have to make sure my team wins, no matter what. Because these powerful people have spent time and money splitting us, the common folk, apart. So now we're able to view each other as enemies. We are opposed to whatever the other people want. So on the Republican side, it's very pro-corporate. These are the people that pulled them up by their bootstraps. They don't have to pay more taxes. They don't have to do any of that shit. When we vote someone into office, we want them to get there and do nothing. Hold up the vote. Make sure that no protections come for the American people. Make sure the corporations are able to get away with whatever they want to get away with. And then on the liberal side, you have people that are pretending to represent the citizens. People who aren't willing to let the corporations get away with whatever they want. They still will, because they work for the corporations too. But they'll pretend that they don't want them to get away with it. But, oops, we failed. We weren't able to do it. Republicans were able to get away with whatever they were trying to get away with. Oh, shucks. But down here, the common people, the voters, we all want more freedom. We want the right to be who it is we choose to be in this nation. But now, the talking heads, the representatives of the corporations on the Republican side, are saying that no, they're taking away your freedoms, your rights, even though they're the ones representing the people who are taking away your freedoms and rights. But the other side, the liberals, they're taking away your freedoms and rights because they're fighting for equality and all that kind of stuff. Somehow that means you're going to lose. So the only choice we have is to stand up and have a revolution. We need to fight those people that are fighting for American freedom, rights of the citizen. Ugh! We need to stand up and ensure that the corporations don't have anything standing in their way. No protections for the citizens, no protections for the workers, no regulations as far as how they conduct business or do anything here in the States. No, we need to get rid of all that. Let's have a revolution. And this will be the first revolution where we give power to the powers that already are. We're going to stand up and fight a war to destroy this nation. We're going to take the power that the American Revolution, the freedoms and rights that they earned for the American citizens, we're going to stand up and have another revolution where we take those freedoms and those rights and we give them back. And then we can go back to being peasants, where we don't have a say, we don't have a vote, we don't have a voice or any protections. We just do as we are told. If that corporation only sees fit to give us enough food for us to survive ourselves, not our family, fuck them, but they give us enough bread and water to make it to the next day so we can come in and work, that's their choice. They should be free to do that. We'll stand up and go to war for them. And I get why the representatives want it. I get why the corporations want it. My question is, why do you, the voter, the person who has no control, who's in a stressful situation in their life, trying to work for these corporations and the powers that be to try and make enough money to survive, now you are being convinced that what you should do is go give your life. Give up your life to fight for those who are ensuring that you are stuck at the bottom, to make sure that you don't have any freedom. You need to go give up your freedom and your life for them. Because then they'll really represent you. They're going to give you everything you want. They have the power to do it right now, and they're not willing to do it. But if you give them ultimate power, then they'll give you something. Really? I don't see it. I think you're being bullshitted. I think someone is trying to get you to again pay the price for the powers that be. So Republicans are already in the mode of saying that, we the citizens should pay more taxes. That way the corporations don't. Even though we the citizens get zero representation. Corporations get 100% representation. But we need to pay our fair share. To take any more from them in this capitalistic society where you're supposed to pay for what you get. They don't need to pay for anything even though they get it all. We need to pay for it even though we don't get anything for it. And now they're doing it with a war. You need to go out and give up your life for the corporations that aren't willing to give you anything. That's America. That's freedom. That's how you are a good Christian? What? Where did it say in the Bible that we need to pray to the golden calf? That Jesus came into, the temple and all those marketplaces that were there, he stood guard. Because there might be someone that might want to come in there and flip their tables. And he was like, these people are protected. You, the lowest among us, you're shit. Do as you're told. Right? Wasn't that in the Bible? Do you remember that? That story? What was it called? It was in Book of Job Creators. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating that there are people with enough power and who spend enough money trying to fucking manipulate words, where they literally spend money on focus groups to figure out how they can take the common folk, give them a talking point or two, and switch the whole thing on them. How I can sell you bullshit and make you believe it's gold. And they pay for it. And then they hand that off to the news corporations that are owned by billionaires up in that corporate class and have millionaire newscasters sell you that bullshit. And it's all for one purpose, in my opinion. To give the people at the top more power. To take America, the place that was supposed to be formed as an answer to the kings and queens of yesteryear, as a place where the lowest among us have the power. We choose who represents us. We choose which laws guide and regulate our life. And now we have representatives who are unwilling to do anything while in their seats of power. Unwilling to represent us. And now they're trying to tell us we need to go to war for them, for their corporate handlers. Because if we give the corporations everything that they want, maybe then they'll treat us with respect. When we ensure that they don't have to give us anything, when they're free to do whatever it is they want, suddenly they're going to develop a conscience. Suddenly they're going to want to be kind and loving and giving, and they're going to want to treat all of us as the lowest among us. Where have you seen this evidence? The whole point is corporations are trying to do or get away, corporations are trying to remove anything that exists for you. Retirement? Pff. Pension? Pff. Any kind of fucking like medical? Pff. We're going to give you the bare fucking minimum. Equal pay? Pff. I'm going to pay you minimum wage. And I'm going to ensure that minimum wage stays where it is. I get to raise prices every quarter if I want to. But I'm going to fight to keep that minimum wage right there. And I know just how to do it. I've paid off all these representatives. I've paid off all these scientists. I've paid off all these focus groups. I know how to manipulate. And I've been doing a great job at it. So here I am, a Republican representative. I've already ruined the whole democratic process by changing districts and making sure that the Republican vote is always going to win. Even though we have less people that want to vote our way. We've cheated the system. We have ultimate control. But unfortunately, the American people keep becoming more and more liberal, thinking that we deserve protections in this world, that, the corporations shouldn't be able to get away with anything they want to get away with. They shouldn't be able to treat us like shit. Well, and that's garbage. We need to get rid of that. The idea of hope, of being treated fairly, of freedom in America. No, we need to have a revolution. A revolution that kills the idea of freedom, of personal rights. We'll just hand that power over to the corporations, and then they can give us whatever we deserve. Whatever they feel we deserve. And as it stands right now, they think of us as peasants. They want to give us nothing. But unfortunately, we have certain regulations in place that ensure that they're not able to do that. They're not able to take, and not give anything back. Well, the corporations aren't having that. So they've paid off your representatives. They've paid off your news. They've paid off everything that gives the narrative and the messaging that you and I hear. And now they're saying, we need a revolution. A revolution to do away with the experiment that is America. And for the first time, we might have a revolution that is itself a coup. Yep, a coup. Because we're not having a revolution to give power to the people. That's what every revolution has been in the past, where the lowest among us have gotten a little higher. One step up, one step up. Maybe the highest among us take one step down because we have one step up, bringing us closer and closer together. But not this revolution. This is a Republican revolution. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it and make sure that the citizens down here and the corporations down here, we're going to put them back to their rightful place. Citizens are peasants. You get nothing. Corporations have everything. You want it, you beg. You make them believe that you're worth it. Because you don't have any God-given rights, any God-given freedoms. No, we just use that as a selling point to make you give up your constitutionally protected rights and freedoms. Because those are really what protect you. The God-given ones? No. Those are ones that are easy for corporations to overlook. But I don't know how to have this conversation. I don't know how to get people to see a different way. I would love to be able to. That's what this channel is supposed to be. An opportunity for us to come together to get over the talking points that our representatives give us. Because while here, yes, I'm focusing on the Republican side, it's the same on the Democratic side. They too are spokespeople for the corporations. The big difference is that the Democratic side has to pretend to represent the people. So if the people on the Democratic side, the voters, speak up loud enough, the Democratic representatives have to give them something. The Republican side, the only time that the Republicans stand up to make enough noise to get anything done is when the corporate mouthpieces have given them a talking point to be loud enough about. Donald Trump won the presidency. No, the fuck he didn't. I'm a registered Republican, and I would have voted for anybody else but Donald Trump. The fact that it was so close in 2020 is ridiculous in my personal opinion. But hey, again, Republicans have rigged the system to make it so that any Republican, even if they get way less of the vote, are supposed to be able to win. So I recognize that there are Republicans that are like, wait, the Republican system's cheat or broken. It's supposed to be where we win no matter what. We sold out these shows and we made sure that every Republican was going to vote the way that they were told to vote. And now you're telling me that a Republican person who's been in this cheated system where Republicans are supposed to win wasn't able to win? Well, we call bullshit. And the sad part is the whole point that he got voted for the first time was because he was saying things like drain the swamp. And that's what I was hoping that Republicans were voting for. That it wasn't just the racism and the stupidity and the fucking reality TV star. But he didn't drain the swamp. He made the swamp worse. And people still voted for him the second time. After not doing a good job, after making Barack Obama look like a good president, after making George W. Bush look like a good president. I did not want Hillary Clinton to win. But after seeing what Donald Trump did, it basically would have been the same thing. Some fucking moron who used their last name to get to a powerful position, who used that position only to benefit themselves and their friends, and the people they owe. The difference between him and her is that she at least had enough tact to do it quietly, to do it the way that men have been doing it for years. Number 45 had no tact. That person bumped into everything and tripped over everything and made too much noise trying to sneak around, do the bullshit that our politicians get away with regularly. So now we get to see it all. He became the orange highlighter pointing out all the problems. And people still wanted him there. Because again, the corporate mouthpieces said, this is the guy that has your back. He's the one that wants you to be free. So he didn't do anything about that virus thing. So he convinced you now that the virus is actually a hoax. So now there's not people that are willing to take vaccinations. But he still has your best interests at heart. No. He never had your best interests at heart. It would probably be safe to say that he doesn't have very many people's interests at heart. And I don't know where that line ends, where suddenly he starts caring a little bit. Maybe in his family, maybe only parts of his family that he cares about. But that is the selfish piece of shit. A selfish piece of shit that we put into power. But that we, on the second time that he ran, didn't give any power to because he was such a piece of shit. But now people want to have a revolution. People on January 6th went in kind of a small revolution. And what were they fighting for? They were fighting for putting him in power. So the Republicans, who are the spokespeople for the corporations, have rigged the game against Americans. That didn't work. So then Americans got convinced to go give their life and their freedom to put this person back in power, to give them a dictatorship, to get rid of America as a democracy, put in a new guy, make him dictator, king, God king. And what would that have given you? What would Republicans have won? Not a fucking thing. You would have had a representative, a person who was in the highest seat of power, that didn't give a shit about you. But that's what Republicans have been told to accept. That when you have someone come up to the Republican office, their job is to not do anything. The only time that they're going to do something will be to benefit the people at the top. Otherwise, don't expect a damn thing. You're not worth it. America, not worth it. We're only going to say America's worth it if we get to go attack and kill someone else, some other country. But, oh wait, here we are in a situation where we're not going to go attack another country. Now the Republicans are saying attack those freedom-loving Americans. Make them give up their freedom. That way we can take away their freedom and take away your freedom at the same time. So you go fight this war. You give up your life. You give up your freedom. We're not going to be involved in it. We're just going to coax you into doing it. We're going to convince you it's a good idea, and then we're going to stand back. Just like January 6th. We're going to see if you're successful. If you're not successful, we'll disown you. That's not us. That's Antifa. They're just trying to make us look bad. My people wouldn't do that. Oh. But we shouldn't even pick up the weapons to start the fight in the first place. It's time for us to recognize that our representatives don't care about us. Republicans and Democrats on the representative side, those who are the spokespeople for the corporate powers, they're all on the same team. Team corporation. Team fuck the American citizens. We, the American people, are hopefully on the American team. The one where we enjoy freedoms, the rights, those things that our ancestors, those revolutionaries who were the sons and daughters of, fought to give us. The ability to change the government when we believe it is time. Well, I agree, there is a need for a revolution, but not to give power to the corporations. That would be the exact opposite. It's time for us to have a revolution without picking up weapons for us. To do what revolutions have been doing since the beginning. To give the people more power and to take away the power from the people at the top. To bring us slightly closer together once again. And that's what this channel is supposed to be. To bring us together to recognize that our representatives do not care. They're not going to help us. So the only way that we get to have a country that continues to exist, the only way that our freedoms will continue into the future, is if we, the American people, stand together. Use the tiny little voice and the vote that we have. And again, a super rigged system that's been rigged by the Republicans for the corporations. But no matter how rigged that system is, if we get the majority of Americans to come together to say, we the people deserve freedom. We the people deserve rights. You, the corporate interests and the corporate powers, can go fuck yourself. We just need a majority. That's it. And we all want it. But because we don't have the power like the corporations do, because we haven't set the narrative as the corporations have, because we don't own the representatives who feed in and buy into the narrative and the messaging, we all have to see through the bullshit to recognize that we are not opposed to one another. We are not enemies. The liberals over here who are fighting for rights and freedoms are fighting for the rights and freedoms of every fucking American. So when Republicans are fighting them, you're fighting Americans who are fighting for your rights and freedoms. Your ability to have a job where you are protected, where the corporation that you work for isn't able to steal from you, apology, I don't know how loud that was, and give you nothing back. Corporations that are able to have 100% representation in our government, but aren't expected to pay for their fair share of taxes. And it's so frustrating because we all want better, but we keep believing these fucking teams that we've been pulled apart on. We keep thinking that we're segmented in these little groups where we as Americans have nothing in common with one another. That I and my group can get freedoms and rights and all that kind of stuff, but I can only have them if I take them away from these Americans over here. No. The only way you have rights and freedoms in this little group here is if these people have rights and freedoms as well. You do not exist in a vacuum. You do not get to exist that way. We are a part of a giant community. If you want to go someplace where you don't have rights and freedoms, everybody believes in the same God, and they follow the rules of the people on high, there are many countries you could go to. America is still a free enough country where you have the right to pack your shit and get the fuck out. But don't turn this nation into something that it is not. This is where our forefathers, our ancestors, fought to create a place that was not under the direct control of some king, somebody who rules on high. The people who are in the highest positions are only there because of us. That's it. So putting in a dictator because you stormed the Capitol on January 6th, failed, and eventually just wrote on the walls with your shit because you're children, that's not how it's done. It's done with the vote. If we can come together and we can tell our representatives that we do not want these corporations to have as much power as they have, that we, the people, get to have the power, and they say no, that's when we get to pick up our weapons. That's when it's been truly figured out that those who are in the representative positions aren't going to give a shit about us. Get the majority, make them change. If they say no, then we go to a revolution. But as it stands right now, we still have an opportunity to change things because of all those who came before us. Every person who joined the military and gave their life, or was willing to give their life, fought to defend this nation because of the Constitution. A Constitution that guarantees us rights and freedoms. Rights and freedoms that a new revolution would do away with. Because we're not at the top. We don't get to decide what rules get written if the revolution succeeds. Are you willing to risk it? Are you willing to give up all your freedoms and rights in hopes that somebody at the top, who's already in a position where they can give you what you want, is suddenly going to treat you as though you're good? Because my money's on no. My money is on these fucks are trying to take advantage of us. They're selling us bullshit to convince you to go to war to give up your freedom. I just hope it doesn't work. My hope is we can come together and figure out how to get around all these roadblocks that they're going to put in our way. Because this won't be it. Even if this isn't successful, there will be another attempt. It is very clear, according to me, in my own opinion, that the powers that be recognize that they are about to be held accountable. We almost voted in Bernie Sanders, meaning those people on the left who want rights and freedoms for Americans were actually going to put someone in office that represents us, the American people. And the corporate powers, who again control the messaging, control the narrative, and have all those representatives on payroll, they decided to pull a little bit of a move. They put in this Joe fella and said, no. This Bernie guy, he can't win. He can't win. So we've already tried not talking about him. We've already tried saying bad things about him being socialist. Turns out, because we gave him a little bit of publicity, he turned that around and he explained what he was trying to do. And now people want him? Shit, what do we do? Well, let's put in another guy. We'll pull every other competitor out of the race, the Democratic primary race. We'll put in Joe. And then we'll manipulate the system, because we're so good at it, with just two choices. Because we know how to manipulate the best between two, choose the lesser of two evils. That we can do. So we'll do that. Joe's the only one that can win. Joe. Heavy messaging, heavy narrative, all over the place. Joe's the only one. Forget about Bernie. And it worked. But now they recognize that the game is up. That pretty soon there will be a Bernie Sanders, or a Bernie Sanders-like person, that gets to the most powerful position. Those people at the top will suddenly be held accountable for all the bullshit they've been pulling. So they're saying, no, now we need to fight. Now we need to rile up these people and get them so angry that they're willing to have a revolution to give up on America. Because that's the only way we at the top we'll be able to have another graph next year that only shows it going up and to the right. Because that's what we're interested in. Don't give a fuck about the people. Just that graph showing more. And it's up to us. Are we going to allow them to do that? Are we going to fall prey to this ridiculous story? The hope is not. But I don't control what other people believe. I don't control what other people are willing to believe. I can only come out here and try and start a conversation with those who might believe it. Try and find some common understanding so that we can see whether or not it's a good idea to have this revolution. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. Please, let's not pick up weapons against one another, because we are on the same team. And as soon as we start hurting each other, our team's going to get smaller and weaker and smaller and weaker. And I don't know if anybody here is a fan of Sun Tzu, but one of the biggest things you can do is to make your enemy weaker while making yourself stronger. And the corporations have been using that tactic. They've divided us to make us weaker. They pit us against each other to make us weaker. And all the while, it makes them more and more and more powerful. So we don't need a revolution to give them more power. They're going to get it. That is, unless we stand up and represent ourselves and bring them back down. Thank you for your time. My name is Zed.